15. Gospel legends you didn't know were lesbian. Welcome to Legends of Black Excellence. Prepare to be shocked as we reveal the untold stories of gospel icons whose voices shaped the world, yet their personal lives remained hidden for years. From legendary divas who moved millions with their powerful performances to women who quietly defied societal expectations, these gospel stars lived in silence, their true identities concealed in an era of strict moral codes. Stick around as we dive into the lives of 15 gospel legends you didn't know were lesbian stories that challenge everything we thought we knew about these icons. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more eye-opening revelations. Clara Ward. Clara Ward, 1924 to 1973, is regarded as one of the most influential and pioneering figures in gospel music. As the leader of the Ward Singers, she played a pivotal role in shaping the sound of modern gospel. With her powerful voice, dynamic stage presence, and captivating performances, Clara broke barriers and pushed the boundaries of what gospel music could be. However, behind the public persona, Clara Ward's personal life was filled with complexities and secrets that would have surprised many. Born into a musical family in Philadelphia, Clara was the daughter of Gertrude Ward, a well-known gospel singer, and was raised in an environment steeped in gospel traditions. Clara's early training and upbringing in the church played a crucial role in her development as a performer. Her talent quickly caught the attention of many in the gospel community, and by the 1940s, she formed the Ward Singers alongside her mother and sister Willow Ward. The group became known for their rousing performances, which combined traditional gospel with elements of jazz, blues, and soul, making them one of the most innovative gospel ensembles of their time. Clara's voice, rich and commanding, became the hallmark of the Ward Singers' sound. Her ability to convey raw emotion, intensity, and spiritual devotion through her singing captivated audiences across the country. The group toured extensively and recorded numerous albums, and Clara herself became a household name in gospel music. She was admired for her charismatic leadership, which allowed her to take the Ward Singers to heights few gospel groups of the time ever reached. Clara's influence extended beyond the gospel community, reaching secular audiences and contributing to the integration of gospel music into mainstream American culture. Yet despite her public success, Clara's personal life was fraught with tension and secrecy. Clara was known to have had fleeting relationships with women, a fact that was never openly discussed due to the conservative nature of the time. In the 1950s and 1960s, societal expectations for gospel artists, particularly black women, were strict. Artists were expected to embody moral purity and religious devotion, leaving little room for personal exploration or openness regarding sexual identity. Clara's relationships with women, which were only alluded to in her sister's biography, remained a hidden chapter of her life. Clara's marriage to a man was brief and ended quickly, and despite the public nature of her career, she rarely spoke of her private struggles. Those who worked closely with her, however, sensed a woman yearning for freedom beyond the constraints of the church and the expectations placed on her. Her music, passionate and filled with longing, often reflected these inner battles, with each performance telling the story of a woman navigating the complexities of faith identity and personal desires. The tension between Clara's public brilliance and private turmoil only deepened as her career flourished. She was a woman caught between two worlds, the one in which she was an icon of gospel, and the one where her personal truth had to remain hidden. Clara's artistry, however, thrived precisely because it was filled with passion and pain. It was a direct reflection of the inner conflicts she faced, and her performances became an expression of her own search for freedom. Clara Ward's legacy is one of musical innovation, emotional depth, and spiritual fervor. While much of her personal life remained obscured, her contributions to gospel music cannot be overstated. She was not only a voice for her generation, but also a trailblazer for future generations of gospel artists. Her ability to merge soul, jazz, and blues into gospel music left an indelible mark on the genre. Today, Clara Ward's name is remembered not only for her extraordinary talent, but also for the courage she displayed in her personal and artistic expression, even when the world around her demanded silence and conformity. Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Sister Rosetta Tharpe, 1915 to 1973, is a name synonymous with pioneering musical innovation. Known as the godmother of rock and roll, she was one of the first artists to blend gospel with secular genres like blues and rock, laying the foundation for modern music as we know it today. Tharpe's musical genius was ahead of her time, and she was a trailblazer not just for gospel music, but for the entire music industry. However, her life behind the microphone was as revolutionary as her music, often defying societal norms in ways that would later be celebrated by generations to come. Born in Cotton Plant, Arkansas, Tharpe was introduced to music at an early age. She was raised in the church, and by the time she was a teenager, she was already playing the guitar and singing in church services. Tharpe's early exposure to gospel music heavily influenced her sound, but she was not content to stay confined to just one genre. As a guitarist, she broke conventions by playing in a style that was more akin to blues and jazz than traditional gospel music. This made her a unique and powerful figure in the world of gospel as she fused traditional sacred sounds with the rhythms of secular music. Tharpe's rise to fame came in the 1930s and 1940s when she began recording and performing with major acts. She was known for her dynamic performances, her fiery guitar solos, and her ability to electrify audiences. She performed at venues ranging from church sanctuaries to secular nightclubs, defying the expected boundaries between sacred and secular music. Her influence was profound on artists like Elvis Presley, Chuck Berry, and Little Richard, who cited Tharpe as a major inspiration. Despite her fame and recognition, her personal life was as boundary-pushing as her music. Tharpe's relationships with both men and women have been widely speculated, and while she never openly discussed her sexuality, those in her inner circle were aware of her same-sex relationships. In a time when public disclosure of one's sexual identity was rare, especially for someone in the public eye, Tharpe's quiet boldness was revolutionary. She never let her personal life overshadow her music, instead carrying herself with an unapologetic confidence. Tharpe's ability to maintain her artistic integrity while navigating the societal expectations of the time is part of what makes her such an icon. Her music, which blended faith rebellion and sensuality, has inspired countless artists and continues to influence modern music today. Her legacy is a testament to the power of art as a form of self-expression transcending the boundaries of gender, race, and sexual identity. Josephine Howard. Josephine Howard, a vital yet often overlooked figure in gospel music, contributed significantly to the genre's evolution, especially during her time with the legendary Caravans. While her public recognition might not rival that of her peers, Howard's impact on gospel music is undeniable. Known for her passionate delivery and soulful voice, Howard helped shape the sound of gospel music in the mid-20th century, yet her personal life remains a subject of whispered speculation. The quiet intensity of her voice on stage spoke volumes, but it was her reserved personal life that often led to stories left untold. Howard's musical journey began in Chicago, where she became an integral part of the Caravans, one of the most influential gospel groups of the era. Known for its powerful harmonies and devotion to spreading the gospel, the Caravans reached audiences across the nation, influencing countless gospel artists who followed. Howard's voice, often described as a blend of raw emotion and technical precision, became one of the signature sounds of the group. As a member of the Caravans, she sang alongside other gospel greats like Albertina Walker and Shirley Caesar, with whom she shared a deep bond both on and off the stage. Her stage presence was commanding, and her performances were filled with an intensity that captivated audiences, especially during the emotionally charged renditions of classic gospel songs. Despite her public success, Howard's personal life was marked by quiet secrecy. Those who knew her well, including her daughter R&B and gospel artist Mickey Howard, have hinted at Josephine's same-sex relationships. However, these aspects of her life were never openly acknowledged during her career. In an era when gospel artists, particularly women, were expected to adhere to strict moral codes, Josephine Howard's relationships were never openly discussed, leaving many of her personal truths to remain in the shadows. The gospel music industry, which placed great emphasis on purity and family values, made it difficult for artists like Howard to fully express themselves without fear of backlash. What makes Josephine Howard's story so poignant is the way her personal struggles and private yearnings were woven into her music. She may not have been as vocal about her identity as others, but her voice conveyed a depth of emotion that transcended her words. It was in her music, which often dealt with themes of love, deliverance, and faith, that she was able to channel the complexities of a life lived between societal expectations and personal desires. Howard's story is a reminder that the lives of many gospel artists were more nuanced and multifaceted than the public image suggested. Despite the constraints placed on her, Josephine Howard's contributions to gospel music remain an indelible part of its history, a testament to the quiet power of her artistry and the unspoken truths that continue to shape the genre today. Mahalia Jackson. Mahalia Jackson, 1911 to 1972, is revered as the Queen of Gospel, a title earned through her profound influence on gospel music and her ability to transcend both racial and religious boundaries with her powerful voice. Jackson's career was marked by both artistic triumphs and personal sacrifices, and her legacy continues to resonate with generations of gospel enthusiasts and artists alike. Yet behind the thunderous, soul-stirring voice that delivered some of the most iconic gospel performances of the 20th century, Jackson's personal life remains shrouded in mystery, particularly when it comes to her sexual identity. Born in New Orleans, Louisiana, Jackson was raised in a religious family, with her early exposure to church music playing a pivotal role in her musical development. She began singing in church at a young age and soon became recognized for her remarkable vocal talent. As a young woman, Jackson moved to Chicago, where she connected with Mahalia Jackson's musical mentors and soon established herself in the gospel scene. Her breakthrough came with her performances in Chicago, which led to national recognition and the eventual launch of her successful recording career. Known for her emotionally charged renditions of gospel songs, Jackson's voice was unmatched in its power depth and ability to convey raw, unfiltered emotion. Her recordings, including Move On Up a Little Higher, 1947, became instant classics and set the stage for gospel to become a mainstream genre, appealing to a broad range of audiences across the United States and beyond. However, for all of her fame and visibility, Jackson's private life was kept hidden from the public eye. She had 2 failed marriages and was known to have been extremely protective of her personal life. Throughout her career, there were persistent rumors and whispers among industry insiders and musicians that Jackson may have been queer, though she never publicly addressed these speculations. The coded language of the time, such as terms like crunch or muncher, was often used to refer to her sexuality behind her back, but concrete evidence remains scarce. In an era when gospel artists were expected to embody moral purity and adhere to societal norms of marriage and motherhood, any deviation from that image was viewed as scandalous. Jackson's decision to never publicly comment on her sexuality is understandable, given the risk of tarnishing her carefully cultivated public image. Her focus remained on her music, which was deeply intertwined with her faith, and she continued to sing with unshakable conviction, using her platform to support the civil rights movement and uplift Black America. Still, Jackson's personal life, especially the rumors surrounding her sexuality, remains one of gospel music's most enduring mysteries. Despite this ambiguity, Mahalia Jackson's legacy as the Queen of Gospel is firmly established, and her voice continues to inspire and influence generations of artists worldwide. Inez Andrews. Inez Andrews, 1929 to 2012, was a powerful force in gospel music whose voice still echoes through the halls of gospel history. Known for her dynamic soprano and emotional depth, Andrews made her mark as a standout member of the Caravans, one of the most influential gospel groups in the history of the genre. Her vocal talents and her ability to convey raw emotion through her singing earned her a revered place in gospel music. But behind her public persona, Andrews led a private life marked by silence and speculation. Born in Birmingham, Alabama, Andrews was raised in the church where she was exposed to gospel music early on. Her musical talent was evident from a young age, and by the 1950s, she was performing with the Caravans, joining the legendary group as it began to rise to fame. Known for her ability to deliver gospel songs with a perfect blend of power and precision, Andrews became one of the group's most beloved members. She was known for delivering emotionally charged performances that resonated deeply with audiences, making her a key figure in gospel's rise to prominence in the 1950s and 1960s. Despite her public success, Andrews' personal life was always kept out of the spotlight. Like many gospel artists of her era, Andrews navigated a world where private truths were often hidden due to the strict moral codes of the industry. Speculation about her sexuality has surrounded her for years, particularly in relation to her lifelong unmarried status and her close relationships with women in the gospel community. Though she never publicly acknowledged these rumors, whispers among industry insiders and fellow musicians suggested that Andrews may have been part of the LGBTQ+ community. In gospel music, where artists were expected to embody a traditional image of family values, unmarried women who formed close emotional bonds with other women often found their personal lives subject to scrutiny. Andrews' relationships with women were frequently the subject of gossip, but she never addressed the speculations, instead focusing on her music and her ministry. Her artistry, which was rooted in raw emotional delivery and authenticity, often seemed to reflect a deeper inner struggle, one that may have been tied to her personal truths. Her voice was a window into this complexity, powerful and defiant, yet filled with a vulnerability that suggested untold stories and emotions hidden beneath the surface. Andrews' career continued well into the 1970s and beyond, with her contributions to gospel music cementing her legacy. While her personal life remains largely unspoken, her impact on gospel music cannot be denied. She was a powerful voice in the genre's golden era and helped to shape the sound of gospel for future generations. Andrews' story, like many others, is one of quiet resilience. Though she may have kept her personal truths hidden, her music continues to speak volumes, offering a glimpse into the emotional depth and strength that defined her as an artist. Today, Inez Andrews' legacy lives on in the hearts of those who continue to find inspiration in the powerful and soul-stirring sounds she left behind. Shirley Caesar. Shirley Caesar, often hailed as the First Lady of Gospel, has left an indelible mark on the genre both through her powerful, soulful voice and her unwavering devotion to faith. With over 11 Grammy Awards and numerous accolades throughout her illustrious career, she is recognized as one of the most influential figures in gospel music. However, beneath the polished exterior and professional persona, Shirley Caesar's personal life, particularly regarding her sexual identity, has often been the subject of whispers and rumors. While she has never publicly discussed these aspects of her life, her career and public image reveal a complex woman navigating an industry where moral expectations were strict and the pressures of conformity were immense. Born in Durham, North Carolina, Shirley Caesar grew up in a religious household where gospel music was a central part of her upbringing. Her early exposure to the church choir shaped her career, and by the age of 12, she was already singing with the church choir. She gained national recognition in the 1970s when she became a member of the Caravans, one of the most prestigious gospel groups of the time. It was with the Caravans that Caesar developed a powerful presence, lending her unmistakable voice to some of gospel music's most iconic songs. Her passion for both gospel music and ministry led her to embark on a solo career, and by the 1980s, she had become a household name in gospel circles. While Shirley Caesar's public image has largely centered on her musical and spiritual journey, there have been rumors about her personal life, particularly regarding her relationships. Throughout her career, whispers of same-sex relationships circulated with some industry insiders, pointing to her long-lasting close bonds with women. Caesar, however, has consistently avoided addressing these rumors publicly. As an ordained minister and gospel luminary, Shirley Caesar's credibility in the church world was directly tied to her image of moral authority, and any suggestion of queerness could have posed a significant risk to her career. Despite these rumors, Caesar's legacy as a gospel artist remains powerful and untarnished. Her contributions to gospel music are undeniable, with songs like No Charge and You Can Make It becoming anthems of empowerment, faith, and resilience. Even in her 80s, Caesar continues to inspire with her commitment to music and ministry. She has never let public speculation overshadow her message of hope and salvation, instead focusing on uplifting those around her through her voice and her teachings. Shirley Caesar's place in the gospel music pantheon is secure, but the silence around her personal life adds an additional layer to her story, one that many continue to reflect on today. Cassetta George. Cassetta George was a powerful yet enigmatic figure in the gospel music world. As one of the celebrated voices in the legendary Caravans, George helped shape the sound of gospel music in the mid-20th century. Her distinct voice, known for its rich emotional depth, became a signature sound of the group and has influenced generations of gospel artists. Yet beyond her musical prowess, Cassetta George's life remains shrouded in mystery, particularly regarding her personal identity. The speculative whispers about her sexuality, fueled by her unmarried status and close relationships with women, provide a glimpse into the complexities of her life as a gospel artist in a time when public perceptions were carefully guarded. Born in Alabama in 1925, Cassetta George was introduced to gospel music at an early age. She joined the Caravans in the late 1940s, contributing her deep, resonant voice to the group's powerful harmonies. Alongside gospel icons like Albertina Walker and Shirley Caesar, George's vocal prowess helped define the Caravans' sound, which revolutionized gospel music and earned the group a place in its history. Her voice, often described as full of soul and raw emotion, brought a unique depth to the gospel genre. Songs like I'm Willing to Wait and God Cares resonate with emotional intensity, capturing the essence of faith, struggle, and hope. Despite her success with the Caravans, Cassetta George was often a private figure, and much of her personal life remained hidden from the public eye. Speculation about her sexuality grew due to her unmarried status and her strong emotional connections with female peers in the gospel world. These rumors, though never confirmed, became part of the narrative surrounding George. The gospel industry, particularly during George's time, demanded that its female artists conform to certain ideals of family and motherhood, and those who did not fit into these molds were often subject to scrutiny and gossip. Like many gospel legends, George's artistry was a reflection of her inner world. Her deep emotional range and ability to connect with her audience made her one of the standout vocalists of the era. However, the very same qualities that made her such a powerful performer also led to her being misunderstood in an era that was less accepting of nonconformity. The gospel world of her time was not one that readily embraced women who defied traditional roles, and the silence surrounding George's personal life speaks to the broader challenges faced by LGBTQ+ gospel artists of that generation. What remains undeniable is Cassetta George's musical legacy. Though her personal life was largely kept out of the public eye, her contribution to the Caravans and to gospel music in general is immense. Today, George's voice continues to inspire artists and fans alike. She is remembered not just for the emotional power of her singing, but for the strength she showed in an era when living one's truth was often a quiet act of rebellion. George's music lives on, serving as a reminder that the power of faith and song can transcend the boundaries of society's expectations. Albertina Walker. Albertina Walker, 1928-2010, known as the Queen of Gospel, was one of the most iconic figures in gospel music, whose voice and leadership shaped the sound of the genre for decades. As the founder of the Caravans, one of gospel's most influential groups, Walker not only revolutionized gospel music, but also paved the way for future generations of artists. Her dynamic voice, which could seamlessly convey both deep sorrow and unshakable faith, became a defining feature of gospel music, and her influence extended far beyond the church walls into mainstream music. Born in Chicago, Illinois, Albertina Walker began singing in church at a young age. Her talent quickly became apparent, and by the early 1950s, she was performing with the Caravans, which included gospel luminaries like Shirley Caesar, Inez Andrews, and Dorothy Norwood. Under Walker's leadership, the Caravans became known for their emotionally powerful performances, blending traditional gospel with contemporary influences. Their songs, often full of raw emotion and spiritual devotion, connected deeply with audiences. As the leader of the Caravans, Walker not only shaped the group's sound, but also mentored countless artists who would go on to have successful careers of their own. Despite her public success, Albertina Walker's personal life remains a subject of speculation. Although she never publicly addressed rumors regarding her sexuality, whispers about her relationships with women have persisted throughout her career. In the context of the 1950s and 1960s gospel music scene, where women were often expected to conform to traditional roles of family and motherhood, Walker's unmarried status and close friendships with women were frequently scrutinized. These speculations, though never confirmed, reflect the complex intersection of faith identity and societal expectations during that era. Walker's musical legacy, however, remains unquestionable. Her contribution to gospel music is monumental both in terms of the songs she recorded and the artists she mentored. With songs like "Please Be Patient with Me" and "I'm Still Here," Walker's influence continues to reverberate in gospel music today. In addition to her powerful singing, Walker was a skilled performer known for her poised stage presence and her ability to command a crowd. As she continued to perform well into her later years, she remained a beloved figure in gospel music, and her impact is still felt across generations. The speculation about her personal life does not overshadow the importance of her musical contributions. Albertina Walker's career remains an example of how gospel music can transcend personal struggles, leaving a legacy that has inspired and uplifted countless individuals. Her voice, once heard in churches and concert halls, continues to echo through the hearts of listeners, a testament to the enduring power of gospel music and the trailblazer who helped define it. Dorothy Norwood. Dorothy Norwood, born 1935, is one of gospel music's most enduring voices, known for her powerful contralto and her years of service as a member of the Caravans, one of the most iconic gospel groups in history. Alongside legendary gospel artists like Albertina Walker, Shirley Caesar, and Inez Andrews, Norwood played a significant role in the group's rise to fame. With her emotive performances and rich vocal style, she became a key figure in the gospel world whose voice continues to inspire artists today. Yet, like many gospel legends, Norwood's personal life has been a subject of speculation and rumor, particularly regarding her sexuality. Born in Atlanta, Georgia, Norwood's early exposure to gospel music was through her church, and her vocal talent quickly became apparent. By the time she was a young woman, she had joined the Caravans, where her deep contralto voice became one of the group's most defining features. Her emotional delivery of gospel songs, filled with raw honesty and spiritual fervor, resonated with audiences and made her a standout member of the Caravans. Throughout her career, Norwood's solo work also gained recognition, as she recorded numerous albums and hit songs that became staples in the gospel genre. Despite her professional success, Dorothy Norwood's personal life remained largely private. Rumors surrounding her sexuality have been a constant thread throughout her career, primarily because of her unmarried status and her close, often intense relationships with women in the gospel community. During a time when gospel artists, particularly women, were expected to marry and conform to traditional family values, Norwood's refusal to marry led to whispers of her nonconformity in both her personal life and her music. The close, affectionate bonds she shared with fellow gospel singers were often the subject of speculation, but Norwood herself never publicly addressed these rumors. Norwood's music, however, was where her true voice was heard. Her rich, resonant contralto voice and emotional authenticity allowed her to convey the deepest of feelings, making her one of gospel's most beloved performers. Her hits, such as "I'm So Glad I'm His" and "The Denied Mother," became anthems of faith, hope, and resilience, resonating deeply with audiences. In addition to her musical talent, Norwood's leadership in the Caravans, as well as her subsequent solo career, helped to shape the gospel landscape. Her refusal to publicly engage with rumors surrounding her sexuality is not a denial of her identity, but rather a reflection of the societal pressures faced by many black gospel artists during her time. The gospel music industry of the mid-20th century was one where conformity was expected, and the public and private lives of its stars were often seen as inseparable. Norwood's ability to navigate these expectations while maintaining her artistic integrity is a testament to her resilience and strength. Today, Dorothy Norwood's legacy as one of gospel music's greatest voices endures. Her music continues to inspire and uplift, and her place in the pantheon of gospel greats remains secure. As the conversation about the lives of LGBTQ+ gospel artists grows, Norwood's story serves as a powerful reminder of the quiet rebellion that often occurs within the sacred space of music, where personal truths are sometimes left unsaid but can be felt through the sound of a voice that refuses to be ignored. Marianne Williams. Marianne Williams, 1929 to 1993, was a powerful and groundbreaking figure in gospel music, known for her electrifying voice and emotionally charged performances that pushed the boundaries of the genre. As a member of the Ward Singers, Williams' unique vocal style made her one of gospel music's most prominent voices in the 1950s and 1960s. Her voice, with its raw intensity and unrestrained passion, was not only a testament to her extraordinary talent, but also a reflection of the deeper emotional and spiritual struggles she faced. While her music was beloved by fans, her personal life, particularly regarding her sexuality, was a subject of quiet speculation. Born in Chicago, Illinois, Williams was introduced to gospel music at an early age and quickly established herself as a standout performer. Her talent was undeniable, and she quickly became known for her ability to convey deep emotional truths through her singing. Her membership in the Ward Singers, alongside legendary figures like Clara Ward and Willa Ward, allowed Williams to showcase her talent to a broader audience. Her voice was a force to be reckoned with, capable of delivering both the joy and sorrow that are often at the heart of gospel music. Despite her professional success, Williams's personal life remained shrouded in secrecy. There were rumors throughout her career regarding her sexuality, particularly because of her unconventional lifestyle and the emotional closeness she shared with women both within the gospel community and beyond. In an era when artists, particularly black women, were expected to embody a certain image of family values and moral purity, Williams's nonconformity raised eyebrows. Her refusal to marry and her independent approach to life and music often led to speculation about her personal identity, though she never publicly addressed these rumors. What makes Williams's legacy so powerful is not just her vocal ability, but the courage with which she lived and performed. She broke away from traditional gospel structures, often bringing a level of improvisation and spontaneity to her performances that was groundbreaking for the time. Her music was deeply personal, filled with emotional intensity and raw honesty. Despite the societal pressures to conform, Williams refused to compromise on her art, instead using her music to channel the complexities of her own life and experiences. Her impact on gospel music cannot be overstated. Marianne Williams, through her innovative style and fearless performances, helped to redefine gospel music during a time when the genre was beginning to merge with other forms of popular music. Her legacy continues to inspire gospel artists today, as she remains an example of how powerful and transformative music can be when it is grounded in honesty and authenticity. Willie Mae Ford Smith. Willie Mae Ford Smith, 1904 to 1994, is considered one of the most significant pioneers in gospel music. Her influence in the genre helped lay the foundation for the gospel music movement that would define much of the 20th century. Smith's contralto voice, full of power and emotion, captivated audiences and helped solidify her as one of gospel's greats. Yet behind her public acclaim, Smith's personal life, like so many of her peers, remains largely obscured. Despite her success, Whispers about her sexuality have remained a part of her legacy, further complicated by the expectations placed on women in gospel during her time. Born in Mississippi, Willie Mae Ford Smith grew up in a deeply religious household, and her early exposure to gospel music shaped her musical path. She began singing in church choirs at a young age, and by her 20s, she had become a recognized voice in gospel circles. Smith's vocal ability was unmatched, and she quickly gained a reputation for her rich contralto and expressive delivery. She became one of the leading soloists in the gospel world, with performances that moved audiences to tears. Her recordings with the Caravans, including The Old Ship of Zion and I Won't Complain, are still regarded as some of the most powerful gospel songs ever recorded. Despite her public recognition, Smith's personal life remained a mystery. Like many gospel artists of her time, her private life was shielded from the public eye. However, rumors about her sexuality have lingered throughout the years. Smith, who was never married and spent much of her life focused on her music and ministry, became the subject of speculation due to her close relationships with women. In an era where gospel artists were expected to conform to traditional family roles, Smith's unmarried status and strong emotional bonds with female musicians led to gossip, though she never publicly acknowledged these rumors. Smith's choice to prioritize her ministry and music over marriage in a time when women were expected to marry and bear children set her apart from many of her contemporaries. Gospel music at the time was a genre deeply rooted in religious values, and public opinion often dictated the lives of its stars. Smith's unwavering commitment to her music, however, allowed her to create a legacy that would last for generations. She mentored countless gospel artists and helped shape the development of gospel music during a critical period in its history. Today, Willie Mae Ford Smith is remembered as one of gospel music's most essential figures. Her contributions to the genre, particularly as a mentor and vocal powerhouse, continue to influence gospel artists worldwide. Though the whispers about her personal life may never be fully addressed, her impact on gospel music is undeniable. Through her music, Willie Mae Ford Smith's legacy lives on, one of faith, strength, and a passion for expressing the deepest emotions through song. James Dixon, 1938 to 2011, was one of gospel music's most flamboyant and influential performers, known for his vibrant stage presence, electrifying voice, and boundary-pushing performances. Dixon was a pioneer in merging the theatrical with the sacred, making gospel music more dynamic and accessible to a broader audience. His ability to infuse gospel with Broadway-style showmanship set him apart from his peers, but it also made him a subject of speculation and curiosity. Dixon's personal life, particularly regarding his sexuality, became a topic of much discussion, especially due to his flamboyant stage presence and his refusal to conform to traditional norms. Born and raised in Chicago, Dixon was introduced to gospel music at a young age, joining the church choir early on. His vocal prowess was evident from the start, and by the 1960s, Dixon was performing with various gospel groups and gaining recognition for his powerful voice. However, Dixon was not content to simply sing the traditional gospel songs. He sought to make a statement with his performances. His style was bold and theatrical, incorporating dance moves, dramatic flair, and high-energy performances that often felt more like Broadway productions than traditional gospel services. This theatrical approach made him a standout performer and earned him a loyal following. Dixon's theatricality was not just limited to his stage presence, but also extended to his music, which often blended the sacred and the secular. His contributions to gospel music, particularly his ability to captivate audiences through his charisma and musical innovation, played a significant role in expanding the genre's reach. As a member of gospel's dynamic movement in the 1970s and 1980s, Dixon was instrumental in making gospel more mainstream, performing on television and with secular artists while maintaining his roots in the gospel community. However, Dixon's personal life was the subject of many rumors. Known for his flamboyant, larger-than-life persona, Dixon was often speculated to be gay, with his theatrical performances and close relationships with other artists, leading to whispers about his sexuality. Though he never publicly addressed the rumors, his music and persona exuded a sense of unapologetic authenticity that made him a beloved figure in gospel music. Dixon's willingness to embrace his individuality both on and off the stage allowed him to transcend the limitations often placed on gospel performers and redefine what gospel music could be. Dixon's legacy remains solidified in the gospel world not just because of his vocal talents, but because of his courage to challenge norms and defy expectations. His impact can be seen in the way gospel music has evolved over the years, with performers today often blending theatrical elements with traditional gospel music. Dixon's fearlessness in embracing his true self regardless of societal pressures has made him an enduring figure in gospel history, inspiring countless artists to follow in his path. Ruth Davis. Ruth Davis, 1935 to 1956, was a pivotal, yet tragically under-recognized figure in the gospel music world. Her talent was undeniable, and she was one of the standout vocalists in the legendary Caravans during the 1950s. Davis's rich and warm alto voice contributed to the group's powerful sound, which helped shape gospel music during a time of significant transformation. However, her promising career was cut short by her untimely death, and much of her story remains shrouded in mystery, particularly concerning her personal life and the rumors surrounding her sexuality. Born in Chicago, Illinois, Davis quickly became known for her exceptional vocal talent. Her deep, soulful voice was a perfect match for the Caravans, and she quickly became one of the group's most celebrated members. Davis's ability to convey both deep emotion and spiritual devotion through her singing made her a favorite among gospel audiences. Her voice stood out in the Caravans' performances, which were known for their rich harmonies and powerful delivery of gospel music. Davis's rendition of songs like Blessed Assurance with the Caravans remains iconic in the gospel world. Despite her musical success, Davis's personal life was largely kept private. In an era where public figures were expected to maintain strict control over their personal narratives, Davis's absence from public attention after leaving the Caravans raised many questions. Her departure from the group in 1956 was abrupt and unexplained, leading to speculation that something more than her professional life had caused her to step away. Davis was known to have close relationships with some of her female colleagues, and rumors about her sexuality began to circulate, especially given her unmarried status and the intense emotional bonds she shared with women. Tragically, Ruth Davis passed away in 1956 at the young age of 42. Just as her career was beginning to gain wider recognition. Her death left many questions unanswered, and her contributions to gospel music were largely overshadowed by her untimely passing. The legacy of her vocal contributions, however, remains significant, with gospel historians and fans continuing to admire her recordings. Davis's voice, rich with warmth and spiritual depth, continues to be a hallmark of gospel music, and her presence in the Caravans helped define the group's iconic sound. Today, Ruth Davis is remembered as one of the gospel greats who never fully had the chance to realize her potential. Her tragic death at such a young age, coupled with the secrecy surrounding her personal life, has made her a figure of both admiration and mystery in gospel music history. Although her life was cut short, the beauty and power of her voice still resonate through the recordings she left behind. Ruth Davis's legacy lives on as a reminder of the many gospel artists whose stories remain untold, their voices lost to time but never forgotten. Bessie Griffin. Bessie Griffin, 1922 to 1989, was a gospel singer whose powerful contralto voice bridged the divide between gospel and secular music, creating a legacy that continues to influence the genre today. Known for her bold musical approach, Griffin helped define the sound of mid-20th century gospel, leaving behind a body of work that showcased both her exceptional vocal skill and her fearless innovation. Her ability to move seamlessly between the sacred and the secular made her a trailblazer, though much of her personal life, particularly her sexuality, remains a mystery to this day. Born in New Orleans, Louisiana, Bessie Griffin was steeped in gospel music from an early age. Her upbringing in a deeply religious household was complemented by an early exposure to blues and jazz, which she would later blend into her gospel style. Her voice was distinctive and full of depth, drawing comparisons to the greats of the gospel world, yet she was never afraid to push boundaries and defy expectations. Griffin became known for her emotional and soulful delivery, which resonated with audiences across both gospel and secular platforms. Griffin's influence in gospel music began in the 1950s, when she joined Mahalia Jackson's choir and became a key figure in the gospel scene. Her voice, rich with both gospel fervor and blues undertones, helped to break down barriers between gospel and the secular world of rhythm and blues. Unlike other gospel singers of the era, Griffin was not confined to the traditional boundaries of sacred music. She recorded with blues and jazz artists like Johnny Otis and performed in nightclubs as well as churches, making her one of the few gospel artists to navigate both worlds. This unique blend of sacred and secular sounds set her apart and allowed her to build a diverse following. Despite her public success, Bessie Griffin's personal life remains an enigma. There has been speculation surrounding her sexuality due to her lifelong unmarried status and the emotionally intense relationships she shared with women. The gospel world of the 1950s and 1960s was one that expected conformity to traditional family values, and Griffin's refusal to marry and her deep friendships with women led to gossip. Though she never publicly addressed the rumors, her music and her ability to remain unapologetically true to herself served as an act of quiet rebellion. Griffin's impact on gospel music is immeasurable. Songs like Precious Lord and Sometimes I Feel Like a Motherless Child remain powerful examples of her unique ability to convey raw emotion through song. Her contributions to gospel music, particularly in the way she fused gospel blues and jazz, continue to influence gospel artists today. Griffin's refusal to be boxed into a single genre, her emotional authenticity, and her fearlessness in blending sacred and secular music left an indelible mark on the gospel world. While much of her life remains hidden in the shadows, her music speaks louder than words, a testament to her groundbreaking role in the evolution of gospel music. Dolores Barrett Campbell. Dolores Barrett Campbell. The matriarch of the Barrett sisters holds an esteemed place in gospel music history. As the eldest member of the trio, Campbell helped shape the sound of one of gospel's most beloved groups. Her impeccable soprano voice and leadership within the group made the Barrett sisters one of the most influential gospel ensembles of the 20th century. Despite the group's success, Dolores Barrett Campbell's personal life was often the subject of speculation, particularly regarding her sexuality, as her unmarried status and close relationships with women led to whispers in the gospel community. Born in Chicago, Illinois, Dolores Barrett Campbell was introduced to gospel music at a young age. Growing up in a family deeply involved in the church, Campbell's vocal talent was evident early on. She formed the Barrett sisters with her siblings, and the group quickly became known for their harmonious sound and powerful vocal arrangements. Their blend of traditional gospel music with a modern flair resonated with audiences and led to widespread recognition, making them one of the most prominent gospel groups of the 1950s and 1960s. The Barrett sisters' music was a staple in churches across the nation, and their performances were known for their emotional depth and spiritual energy. Campbell's voice in particular was the group's standout feature, delivering high, crystalline notes with an elegance that captivated listeners. Hits like How I Got Over and Jesus Will Fix It became anthems within the gospel community, and the Barrett sisters' influence can still be heard in contemporary gospel music. However, Dolores Barrett Campbell's personal life was often hidden from public view. Despite her prominence as a gospel artist, Campbell's relationships, especially her close emotional bonds with women, were the subject of much speculation. Like many of her contemporaries in the gospel community, Campbell did not conform to traditional expectations of marriage and motherhood. Her unmarried status, paired with her deep emotional connections with women, led to whispers about her sexuality, though she never addressed these rumors publicly. In a genre where conformity to family values was heavily emphasized, Campbell's refusal to conform to these ideals made her an outlier, and her personal life remains largely unexplored. Despite the silence around her personal life, Dolores Barrett Campbell's musical legacy remains strong. She was instrumental in shaping the sound of the Barrett sisters, and her influence on gospel music continues to be felt today. The Barrett sisters' harmony and rich vocal arrangements have inspired countless gospel artists, and Campbell's contributions to the genre cannot be overstated. As the matriarch of the group, she ensured that their music spoke to the hearts of listeners, delivering messages of faith, hope, and resilience. Today, Dolores Barrett Campbell is remembered not only for her role as a member of the Barrett sisters, but also for her pioneering work in gospel music. Though her personal life may have been clouded by speculation, her impact on gospel music is undeniable. Through her voice and her leadership, Campbell helped shape the sound of gospel for generations, and her contributions to the genre will continue to inspire future artists. In the world of gospel music, many legendary artists broke barriers and shaped the genre with their extraordinary talent and passion. However, behind their powerful voices and unforgettable performances, some of these icons lived private lives that defied societal norms, living as lesbians in a time when such identities were often kept hidden. From Clara Ward to Sister Rosetta Tharpe, the lives of these women were filled with both brilliance and complexity. Their stories raise important questions about identity, love, and the courage to live truthfully. What are your thoughts on how their sexuality influenced their music and legacy? Let us know in the comments below.